Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Is the Concept of Afterlife Just a Fear-Based Belief? Acharya 2024. So to me, it depends. Not all afterlife has this concept of hell, I don't believe. Again, but I'm saying that not knowing the truth. But at least from what I do know, the religions that I do know does have this concept of hell, which is fear-based. Because it's how could it not be when you say, well, if you don't believe in us, then you're gonna suffer for all eternity. Believe in us or suffer for all eternity. That is basic. That is fear based. Follow me, or we'll put you in the torture chamber and you will suffer for the rest of your life. Your choice. You have free choice of that. Absolutely free choice of that. So, in terms of religions that do have the concept of hell, yes, it's fear based. Now, I know a lot of modern day, how to say, concepts, no, preaching of their religion that does have the concept of hell are mostly teaching the positive side of things. Because, I mean, imagine going to a church or whatever it is, a place of worship, and saying, you're gonna be tortured, you're gonna be stringed up if you don't follow this religion. It's like, not exactly positive vibes going on in this place here. So let's hear what Acharya here has to say about it. Let's turn on CC.
We have been fed since childhood about the afterlife, heaven and hell concept.
If you meet Buddhists, you'll be surprised by how many of them still do believe, especially in India, believe in personal rebirth. Whereas the Buddha makes it clear that there is nobody here to take rebirth. So all this is not even philosophy, this is just theology.
Now, all of the people who really believe in this, they're not bad human beings. They're really doing their best through this path, through this idea.
I often say intentions don't matter, awareness does. Right? I'm a father, I'm a mother, I want the best for my kids. Without knowing what goodness really is. And you cannot see that you are pushing them deeper into misery and you still think that you are a virtuous person because you are acting as per a belief system.
Real quick, so he says he doesn't believe in intentions, but on awareness. That's a bit confusing to me, at least as far as I understand awareness. Now, I'm kind of curious as to what he means by awareness, because let me go ahead and give the definition. Awareness has no feelings, no memories, nothing other than just pure awareness, and that is all awareness is. It doesn't have morals. It doesn't have good or bad. It's neither and all, I guess. it's just as far as I know, awareness is just pure awareness, and that's all it is. Again, it has no concept. It has no right or wrong. It has no good or bad. It's just awareness. To me, intentions. Whether you believe it or not, you always have intentions to things. As simple as, I don't know, giving someone candy, I guess. What were your intentions? That you're being nice, being generous. Unless you have hidden intentions. Maybe you want to get in his good favor, or whatever the case may be. There's always intentions to actions, I think. Now, you can prove me wrong there, because I've not really thought deeply into it, but I do believe every action has intentions, good or bad. Maybe even sometimes neutral intentions, meaning that it's an intent to not have a positive or negative outcome, because you're doing it just. I think that's probably the best intentions. The way to say that, a neutral intentions. You're not doing it because you want something beneficial from it, but you're also not doing it because you want to take advantage of someone. Beneficial would be like a mutual friendship, or beneficial as in maybe you see the kindness in you that you maybe get a promotion. Even though that may be selfish a little bit, but it's not an evil intention. You're not doing this to hope that the career falls apart or anything like that. So there's a fine line when you look at promotions. It's not necessarily negative per se, but it's just I'm trying my best to look good for my boss. So there is intent even if it's a neutral intent. I do need to hear what he means by awareness and intent, though. So
Still think
let me go back to that, though. I'll do my best to pass this.
intentions don't matter, awareness does, right? I'm a father, I'm a mother, I want the best for my kids.
There's the intent is you want the best for your kids. So even to make them aware is a good intentions, though, right?
Without knowing what goodness really is. And you cannot see that you are pushing them deeper into misery, and you still think that you are a virtuous person because you are acting as per a belief system.
And to say that because you don't know where you're pushing, that doesn't mean necessarily. Like, what if you do know where you're pushing them to? You still have intent behind it, though. Your intent to teach them the Bhagavad Gita, or teach them Advaita Vedanta. Whatever the case may be. You have good intentions. Now, yes, there's a saying. There's a saying that good intentions. Well, I'm not going to say that saying, but anyways, it's just because you have good intention doesn't necessarily mean it always goes right. But you always do want the best for your children, and it doesn't always work out. You have very little control of the outside world. The best thing you can do is try to point them in the best direction as possible. And the reason why I say this is because when we learn, how do I say, bad things in life, like, you don't touch something that's hot, you don't pour boiling water over yourself. He's like, don't you teaching your kids these things because you've learned them. And the best thing the best thing you can do, honestly, is to teach your children to pass down the knowledge or the wisdom to your children. And sometimes even passing those downs, like, for example, I don't want to say boiling water over your head, but doing something that you're not supposed to because it burns may actually in the future save your life. I don't know how an example would that be, like a real life example, but I guess maybe here's one. Something I learned from a movie, which apparently is true. If someone pours that, like, I think it's an acid or a base on your hand, your natural instinct is to pour water over it. It's kind of really weird. Actually, this is not really good. Not really good, actually, example. Because you're supposed to pour the opposite. So I think, what was it? I think it was vinegar that he poured over, so it must have been a base. So it poured vinegar over the hand to neutralize the base, which prevented the burning from going on. Water would have done nothing. I think it might have made it worse. But anyways, the knowledge that pour water over fire, pour water over like wounds and stuff. This is our natural instinct to pour water over things to, I guess it is a pretty good example. Pour water over our wounds and scars to clean it, to make sure that it gets wiped away, pushed away. But in that scenario, it's the worst thing you could do. So pouring water would have hurt you more. Again, it comes from the movie Fight Club. But pouring water would have done worse. You're supposed to put essentially the opposite of the base, which is an acid, which was vinegar. I believe he pour over it, or it's either that or the opposite. He had acid on him and had to pour a base over it to neutralize the acid. So again, the good intention, like anytime something gets on you, wash it off because you don't want that to linger. You don't want the infection to set in. You want to clean it as soon as possible. But in this scenario where this thing is harming you, pouring water, the natural thing that we do is actually counterintuitive. It actually would cause more damage. Again, just example out there. I'm sure there's better examples clearly, but I'm trying my best here without having to pause and think too deeply.
It blinds you to the immediate direct reality.
Okay.
Namaste, Acharya ji.
Welcome.
So, since I'm belonging to the Abrahamic religion background, we have been fed since childhood about the afterlife, heaven and hell concept. I understand that this concept is also fear-based, and over the years, you make sense of what direction you want to go to in terms of afterlife. But it is so deeply ingrained and fed that there's nothing else that can be the truth.
What options? There's no options in there. Who in this world would choose, like, you know what, suffering for all eternity sounds like a good deal. No one says that. Trust me, Even if they say that, I know they will regret it.
I mean, even thinking about something different than this is so challenging because we are deeply conditioned. Now, all of the people who really believe in this, they're not bad human beings. They're really doing their best through this path, through this idea, and they're compassionate. They are helping others, and most of the things that we read and we understand from the Gita, they're pretty much even applying that in their day-to-day life. But then, with the afterlife not being the ultimate truth, does it negate everything that they are doing in this life?
Ultimately, you see, it does. If people are on their road to the destruction, should I facilitate their journey and be called a good, nice human being? Should I set up relief camps along the way? Free medical aid, free food, obviously free water and such things. That's what the stupid kind of goodness means, no? I'm a good human being, I'm a nice human being, and what am I doing? I'm assisting people on their way to destruction. So on his way to destruction, somebody fell and bruised his knee. So I rushed to him with first aid. I'm a good human being, am I not? I rush to him with a bandage, and I help him get up, and I also offer him food, and I do all the goodies, all the niceties, all the virtues I display. But all the virtues that I display are ultimately assisting people on their road to destruction. So all that in toto is just very harmful towards oneself. You see, when the fundamental itself is flawed, anything branching out from that just cannot be virtuous, even if it appears to be virtuous. I often say intentions don't matter, awareness does. I want the best for my kids, right? I'm a father, I'm a mother. I want the best for my kids without knowing what goodness really is. And I want my kids to have the best. And what does that result in? We know the state of the world today. We also know that all the adults were once kids. We say the world is in such a despicable state, and people are monsters, or a lot of people are monsters. But if people are monsters, they were all kids once, and they were all raised by well-meaning parents. How did they turn into monsters? It is because our intentions and our claims to beatification, they in reality mean nothing. What is really of importance is the understanding or absence of it. Mostly there is just the absence. Without
What I also understand about the internalizing of heaven and hell and the externalizing of heaven and hell, this concept also is very flawed, and some people get it. They say, yes, we are going to feel a little bit of the internal hell and internal heaven so that we are prepared for the external heaven and hell. So, you know how they always give excuses and they have their reasoning.
I've never heard of that before, but then again, I haven't been in any kind of religion in a very long time. And to go back to with his explanation about terrible people, even though they grow up with parents with good intentions. Well, the thing is, though, is that, well, we have to try, right? I mean, we shouldn't just leave our kids. Now, hopefully he comes up with a solution to that instead of just leaving it hanging there. It's kind of like, well, what's the point then if they're going to just turn out terrible, you know? I do genuinely believe, if you look at the statistics, that, generally speaking, kids with both parents in the house tend to become better, or or not kinder, but they're well adjusted in society. Whereas you have, if you don't have two parent households, they tend to do much worse. So at the very least, it's not to say that every kid that has two-parent households is going to be this perfect citizen, but we better the odds of having well-established kids, well-established citizens, well-rounded citizens, I guess would be the better word for that. Um, so we still have to try. And don't get me wrong, like if there's a better way, we should obviously learn it. But the problem is that everyone says they have a better way. How do we filter through that? How do we know which one's the right and which one's the wrong? The only way we can know is kind of how we've known in terms of life. Again, much like the two-parent household, kids tend to turn out better. Again, it's not 100% guaranteed, but statistically speaking, it is a better outcome than any other. But anyways, I'm hoping to hear the solution for that too.
See, this is not even philosophy. This is not even a concept. This is simply theology. And this theology is present in every single major religion of the world. Every single. Even the message of the Buddha has not really been understood by most of the Buddhists. If you meet Buddhists, you'll be surprised by how many of them still do believe, especially in India, believe in personal rebirth. Whereas the Buddha makes it clear that there is nobody here to take rebirth. So all this is not even philosophy, this is just theology. And to debunk this theology, you don't need an alternate belief system. All you need is science.
Okay. I wanted to see, you said science. Interesting here. I know. I know. I remember in college, and this is the thing that kind of changed my way of thinking about life. It was my world religions teacher. I do 100% believe she was Indian, and she was. I don't know what religion she followed. I remember her dot on her forehead. She taught world religion though, and I do remember the the only thing I somehow remember in her class, which is the Buddhism part. I don't know why that one just stuck out the most to me. That's what changed my view in life. Um, and I remember her saying that Buddha did not believe in God, even though he never. I think even though he never said it. But I think I can't remember if this is a quote she said or whether I heard this in the video, because I did react to some Buddha video, Gautama Buddha. Um, what is it? The quotes, I think, is similar to what I'm about to say. It's obviously not a direct quote, and I don't know how much of it's correct, but I think it goes along the lines. Um, Okay. Anyways, if there is a God out there, why do we need to worry? Well, no, actually, I don't even know the quote. I had it in my head, but here's what I remember. And whether it's right or wrong, I'm not sure. I could be making this up in my own head, so please look up the right information. But this is what I remember from it. It's essentially that if there is a God up there, why worry about it? You're too busy living life here. You need to essentially you need to straighten your life. You need to make sure you're doing well enough, and make sure you're not causing harm in a lot of sense. Worrying about God is not going to make you better down here. If he does exist. And if he doesn't, then you're doing this all for nothing. If you start taking up the religion that, you're following this God, then you could be doing this all for nothing if he doesn't exist. And if it does exist, then you still have more issues you have to fix down here than worrying about if there is one up there, essentially. But I do remember this is one I remember her saying that he said her statement was he doesn't believe in a God, a supreme being. Yeah, okay.
For somebody to go to heaven or hell, there must be somebody inside you, right?
Spirit.
There has to be somebody. The question that Vedant would ask is, for whom? For whom is heaven or for whom is hell? And science today is in a position to answer that. There is actually nobody inside your body. There is just the body, the consciousness that you identify with.
Real quick now, here's a quick question. Um, does he believe in one consciousness for all of us? Or does he believe in multiple consciousness? As in, all our consciousnesses are in our brain. And this is what I believe in. It just makes the most sense at the moment. Like, am I willing to change my mind? Yes, if something comes up that's very convincing. And mind you, I don't change my mind easily. That's because I don't exactly believe in things that I just like. Someone said it. Okay, cool. I believe it. No. Someone said it. Let me think about it. And obviously, we are all conscious beings here. And this obviously points that we are conscious. Now, I can't tap into your consciousness. I can't tap into your brain. I have no way of tapping into you. So, with this kind of logic, we're separate consciousness, separate beings. So that's the reason my belief is that we have separate consciousness. Does that mean I can't be inclusive or anything? No, not at all. Our consciousness has nothing to do with me being inclusive or not. That's me that decides it, which is, I guess, technically the consciousness. But you get the point. Is that um, it seems like based on just that we have separate consciousness. And that there's this one consciousness. Can I believe in this one consciousness? Sure, something points that's very convincing to that. Other than that, though, where does consciousness lie? I genuinely don't know. It seems logical to think that's in the brain somewhere, and that where in the brain you ask, I don't know. Even scientists don't know. So, but it seems logical there, you know.
Is actually a product of the body. It arises with the body and it's
Hold on, let me rewind that part. Hold on.
the consciousness that you identify with is actually a product of the body. It arises with the body and it's gone with the body. There is nothing that survives the body. So for whom is heaven and for whom is hell?
That's true.
So it's just a belief system, and it's an extremely harmful belief system.
Whoa, so as far as I'm reading here, let me know if I'm wrong again. There is individual consciousness, and this consciousness arises within the body and falls with the body. Meaning, at least as far as I know, there is not this supreme Brahman Atman consciousness that's in all things. Not all things that things are in. I don't know what the right phrasing is. That essentially consciousness only is. I guess that's about the right way to say it. Consciousness is only consciousness is only is. That sounds. Yeah, I think that's the right way. Consciousness is only is, meaning there's nothing else outside of consciousness. Um, so interesting here. Am I misunderstanding? Let me know again if I am, for sure.
I could have said it's just vapid, but it's actually venomous.
It took me so many years to really unlearn all of that. Being in the journey of, being a student of religion from a very, very young age, it takes you lots and lots of unlearning, relearning to really, change this whole
And
concept.
you know what it does? It takes you away from the direct realities and facts of life as it is. Because you're all the time just dreaming of the afterlife. You say, this dunya, this means nothing. Oh, you are just a traveler, you have checked in, you will check out, and this is just a sarai, an inn. It means nothing. Now,
Okay, real quick now before I say something here. So I had this idea that maybe Acharya's against Bhakti Yoga, as in the worship of deities. I'm again not necessarily against it, so long as it makes you live a happier life. And there are science has again you definitely do the research and don't just believe anything I say. Science, as far as I remember hearing, science has proven that at least religious people tend to be happier. That doesn't mean 100% of religious people are happy. But if you put into perspective of non-religious versus religious, they tend to be happier. Meaning, like, you could say like 16% of religious people are actually happy, but only 8% of non-religious are unhappy, are happy, and the rest are unhappy. So that could be a very small amount of people that are religious that are happy, but it's more than the non-religious one. That's all the statistic is saying. What percentage of religious people are happy? I'm not sure, but it just says they tend to be more happy than non-religious people.
Fine. To some extent, that reduces your attachment with the worldly goodies. So, as you said, ostensibly there are some benefits that accrue from this line of thinking. But all in all, it's a very loss-making proposition. Because simply because it stops you from attending to the present reality. You just don't see things as they are. You are enclosed in your belief, and that just makes everything very nebulous.
Yeah. You're just shuffling between these some few options that you have. That's it. You're not allowed to see beyond that.
You cannot see beyond that, and you cannot see even that which is in front of you. Beyondness comes much later.
Real quick, also, sorry I'm interrupting a lot because I've heard, like, this is the interesting thing. It's the fact that I do remember hearing, like, I forget what it was, I forget who said it, but I hear that a lot of scientists who are religion set their religion aside and science aside. They have this kind of like not two-factor authentication, but these two kinds of minds that are completely separate from each other. So you have the scientific mind, which could disprove God, but because they keep it separate, it's like, okay, this is science time, and then this is religious time. So that they're able to still worship and believe in God, but still do science without the interference of disproving anything or whatever science happens to bring up.
I will not be able to see what I'm the as Krishnamurti says, ever seen a tree? I'll never be able to see the real face of my spouse, my kid, my neighbor.
Okay. Have you ever looked at a tree without a single word of like or dislike, without a single image? What then takes place? For the first time, you see the tree as it is, and you see the beauty of it, the color, the depth, the vitality of it, without a single word of like or dislike. Have you ever looked at a tree? I think I have. I'm sure I have. But I wouldn't doubt that I've also looked at some trees and said, I like those branches. It's like, I dislike that color. I wouldn't doubt I've seen many of things that I have not said I liked or disliked it. And then many of things, probably more things, honestly, where I said I liked or disliked something.
To me, everything is about that which will come after death. So, and that also makes some people get in a terrible hurry to reach death. Because they say, real life begins only after death. So let me dispose of this life as soon as possible. In fact, that is another reason that is extended in favor of killings. They say, if this fellow is allowed to live any longer, then he will only accumulate actions that will further ruin his afterlife. So by killing him as soon as possible, we have actually redeemed his afterlife. Fantastic argument.
I mean, it makes sense. It's like, I've done everything great until now. I fear in the future I might mess up my afterlife, so I should just end my life now and make sure I have a good place in the afterlife because everything's great now, but I don't know what I'll do later on, so this is a perfect stopping point.
And then you cannot see the face of the one you have killed. You don't see his tears, his blood, his agony. Instead, you console yourself. Not just console yourself. You actually glorify yourself by saying, I am his savior. I have rescued him. Now he'll get a better afterlife. Had he continued to live, he would have accumulated sins. I've prevented him from accumulating sins. And you cannot see that the fellow is withering in pain. You cannot see that he is gasping for breath. You cannot see you have shot him and he still wanted to live. You cannot see that all his potential has gone wasted. All that cannot be seen because your eyes are covered with belief.
Interesting. So essentially, it's the sheer fact that, well, going back to the original point of the fact that you can just essentially justify anything by saying, "I'm doing this for the good of that person." He doesn't know it, but I know that by doing this, I'm making sure he has a better afterlife.
Yeah. Yeah, we see all this every time, and today's time we are seeing it mostly in the wars that are happening. It's all aimed in securing some space in the afterlife when you have not been able to secure today in the present.
And when we talk of war, usually in wars we shoot at strangers. But what when you cannot even know the fact of how your wife is, your very relationship with your spouse is through a belief system, and that's causing you to heap agonies after agonies on her, and you are wrapping her up in all kinds of rituals and clothing that makes no sense. You don't want her to get educated, and we are talking about your son, your daughter, we are talking about your wife, and you cannot see that you are pushing them deeper into misery, and you still think that you are a virtuous person because you are acting as per a belief system. It blinds you to the immediate direct reality.
Yeah. No, absolutely true. The blinding part is I've experienced myself, so I know that you cannot really see, even if the truth comes to you, you will not be able to see it. And actually, the Quran actually warns you about this. It's very interesting because my learning of Quran has become better after I joined your Vedanta sessions, because now I can interpret the Quran in a much more in a much more internalized manner rather than putting it all the metaphors outside. So when in the Quran Allah says that sumum bukmun umyun fahum la yarjiun, means they will become deaf and blind to the signs of God. And these signs have been coming all the time to you, but we think about the very different signs that we have made them as our belief.
Imaginary
Not even ready
signs.
to exactly.
Imaginary signs. To us, all these are not signs at all. Look at the face of the crying child. How is that not a very direct and potent and telling and living sign? No, that cannot be seen. Because that's the face probably of a Muslim or a Jew. So I cannot see. My belief does not allow me to see anything.
Hopefully, we all can rise and bring the truth forward one day at a time, one moment at a time. We're doing our best that we can. But it's really a sad situation when you see around people. How can we, like, really, the pace that we are going? I know we are leading somewhere, but still, I feel there is so much only that we can do.
One tries with intent and with the maximum application of intelligence. And beyond that, as Lao Tzu was saying yesterday, beyond that is not your province to venture.
Hey, he said, do one tries with intent. It's all you can really do. Sorry about that. It's all you can really do. Is you I'm sorry, I'm studying so much, but it's every action has intent behind it. Whether you intended it to have intent or not, you do. And don't get me wrong, like neutral intent is there, but that comes far and few in between. Most intent is generally good intent. I'd like to believe that when you do something for people, you generally just want to do good.
Beyond that is not your province to venture. If you want too much from your actions, then the actions themselves will get compromised.
Yeah, and you'll get trapped in those actions.
Yes, so one's job is to do as much as possible, as vigorously, as lovingly, and then you
Lovingly is an intent.
leave it at that. Let the results come as they would.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jairji. Thank you.
Welcome.
Very interesting. So, I mean, again, I don't know in the very beginning about how he says, was it intent doesn't matter? Let's see, I'm trying to find it. That's before that. Hold on, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to find it. Okay, I think this is right here.
Through this path, through this idea.
It's not the original part, but I remember it being in the beginning too.
Often say intentions don't matter. Awareness
Intentions and intent are the same thing.
does, right?
I wonder what he means by awareness, though, because again, like I said, as far as I understand awareness to be, it is not something with any intentions whatsoever, which is absolute. Again, as far as I remember with Advaita Vedanta, is that awareness is it has no intentions, has no good or no right or wrong, no good or bad, no truth or lies or fiction or whatever the case may be. It is just pure awareness, and that's all it is. So to say awareness is the only thing that matters, what is it? So I'm wondering what it means to him. What does intention mean to him, and what does awareness mean to him? Because I believe, again, intentions is your any action you do, I do believe has intention behind it, even a neutral intention. So, for example, by just merely like, oh, you see a trash there, you pick it up and you throw it away. You're not looking for any kind of benefit for that, and you're not doing that to take advantage of or try to destroy someone's career. Trash right there. If I pick it up and throw it away, someone's career will be over with. Obviously, that's not the case for that. You're like, if I do this, I'll get bonuses on my score for tests tomorrow. Throw it away. No, that's just a neutral intent. Or, I mean, it's a good intent, honestly, to be honest. Because you're just picking up trash. It's a good intent, okay? It's not as neutral as I thought it would be. But it's, I don't know. I lost that one. It is good intent. I can't help it. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. So I am trying to understand what Acharya means here, though. If anyone understands what he means by intentions, doesn't matter, but awareness does. Again, I explained again. This is my third time. I'm not going to try to explain it again, but hopefully you understand what I mean by this. So I do want to try to understand what he's trying to say. So it's a little confusing when there's a little bit of a conflict in terms of how I understand it, and I've watched a lot of his videos, but I still need to watch the right ones to know what he means by intentions and awareness. Man, I am moving my hand, but it's aimed so high. Because I remember him consciousness, and there's two levels of consciousness for him. There's pure consciousness, which is the highest level, which is Atman Brahman, and then there is also consciousness, not pure consciousness, but consciousness, which is generally referred to the ego in terms of Advaita Vedanta. So that's how I know his two levels. But there's also like a third level there that's in between consciousness and pure consciousness, it seems, but doesn't seem to have a defined word for it. If I remember from the one video I reacted to him a long time ago. So anyway, that's my reaction to, is the concept of an afterlife just fear-based belief? Acharya Prashant. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up the sound down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.